Here is a bold statement. Bishop Athanasius Schneider says the Vatican is handling the SSPX situation all wrong. He released a long statement published exclusively by American journalist Diane Montagna. He is asking everyone to calm down and look at the real issues. For over 50 years, the debate about the Society of St. Pius X has gone nowhere. People are angry. They repeat the same arguments. Nobody is really listening. Bishop Schneider says everyone is missing the central question. The issue is not disobedience. It is about truth. First, we need to understand what Vatican II actually was. Pope Paul VI said the council was pastoral. It did not define new infallible dogmas. He said this clearly in 1966. Even documents called dogmatic are not the same as infallible teachings. Other councils also had non-definitive statements. The Fourth Lateran Council had rules we no longer follow. The Council of Florence had teachings later corrected. So why demand unconditional acceptance of every Vatican II statement for full communion? Nobody asked the same about the previous 20 councils. Some Vatican II teachings are genuinely confusing. Religious liberty, ecumenism, and collegiality are hard to reconcile with older teachings. The Novice Ordo Missi has problems too. Archimandrite Boniface wrote about this. Yet the Vatican wants the SSPX to accept not just the validity, but also the goodness of a new Mass. Bishop Schneider says the Church has developed two unhealthy habits. First is legalism. That means putting church law above everything. Second is excessive papal-centrism. That means treating the Pope like he is practically divine. This was not how the early Church operated. The law against consecrating bishops without papal approval is a later development. It was not a rule in the first millennium. In the 1983 Code of Canon Law, this offense is not listed under schism. It is under offenses against the sacraments. Bishop Schneider says the Church is in crisis. Since Vatican II, there has been confusion about basic teachings. The uniqueness of Christ, the uniqueness of the Church, the sacrificial nature of the Mass. The Vatican wants the SSPX to accept this confusion. They want them to accept the current climate of ambiguity. The synodal process has made things worse. Bishop Schneider says this movement is basically a new religion. It is relativistic and adapted to the world. Calling this continuity with tradition is dishonest. So what does the Vatican want? They want the SSPX to accept ambiguous teachings, religious freedom, ecumenism, interreligious dialogue, the statement that Muslims adore the one and merciful God. They also want acceptance of things from recent popes. Amoris Laetitia about communion for divorced people. Fiducia supplicans about blessing same-sex couples. Bishop Schneider says God never demanded acceptance of unclear teachings. The Church has always fought for clarity. Popes endured persecution rather than tolerate ambiguity. They rejected the term homoousios. They rejected the Henoticon. They even condemned Pope Honorius I posthumously for doctrinal ambiguity. So the SSPX is in a real dilemma. They want to be faithful to the Pope, but they cannot accept unclear or contradictory teachings. Bishop Schneider reads recent documents from SSPX Superior General Father Davide Pagliarani. He says they show a Catholic spirit. They profess true faith in the papacy and devotion to the Pope. The tragedy is that the Vatican demands acceptance of ambiguity as the price of unity. Bishop Schneider compares the SSPX to Saint Sophronius of Jerusalem. During the Monothelite controversy, he sent a bishop to Rome. He stayed 10 years until the heresy was condemned. The SSPX is doing something similar. So what does Bishop Schneider want? He wants the Pope to recognize the SSPX's declaration of Catholic faith. He wants him to accept it as sufficient for communion. Excommunication would be a terrible mistake. It would wound the Church. It would punish faithful Catholics who love the Pope. The Pope should make an exception. He should permit the episcopal consecrations. He should build a bridge. Bishop Schneider points to Cardinal Parolin. The Vatican Secretary of State said problems with German bishops should be resolved peacefully. No punitive measures. If that is true for Germany, why not for the SSPX? The SSPX denies no dogma. They recognize the Pope. They pray for him. But the German Synodal Way has actual heresies. Why is the Vatican patient with them, but harsh with the SSPX? If the Pope excommunicates these bishops, history will judge it harshly. Future generations will regret it. The Pope is called to be a builder of bridges, not a divider. That is Bishop Schneider's message. He asks for patience and understanding. He asks the Pope to be a true father to all his children.